A man on the corner holding a cross, with red letters reading, "Repent all you who are lost." Echoing from his voice words I've heard it all before. I was annoyed and truthfully I didn't really care for. Others had stopped to listen, but most just laughed and mocked in opposition. He then cried out in reply with desperation, "Trust in Jesus for your salvation." Their laughs had turned to anger, and out of their mouths flowed hate and slander. He spoke of how grace was poured out through that one man's sacrifice, how through his own son God's wrath would satisfy. "Repent," he resounded again into the air. The words coming out I could no longer bear. That so-called truth I heard hardened my heart against. To every word I took an offense. I was not a sinner in my own eyes. By my own standard I was much more wise. That man, he looked so foolish with that cross he clenched so tight. But still I stayed and listened despite. He asked me if I thought I was a good person. I told him I was, but truth was I wasn't certain. And that's when he opened up his Bible and began to pull back that curtain. I was a liar, a thief, and a murderer at heart. He read from Genesis and exposed to me man's problem from the start. He exposed me that I would be judged one day, but paused and told me that there is another way. That man who shed his blood on that rugged tree, he died to set you free. He stood in the way of that wrath intended for you, and he did it willingly too. That cross that seemed so foolish began to make sense. It was through that one act that he paid my recompense. The fool was no longer that man, but me. It was as if I was blind and now I could see. That man looked at me and told me again, "Son, repent, lay down your worthless idols and surrender, because this world is nothing but a pretender, preying on your soul to render. Your greatest joy will only be found in serving your Creator, and he's the same man who laid on that cross as your vindicator. Foolish no more was that cross to me, and in that courtroom I gave that cross as my plea. I now look upon that cross, with tears rolling down my face. Standing before the judge, he had thrown out my case, and in that same judge's arms I had finally found my place. A free man, I pick up that cross and walk the streets already paved. No longer is the message of that cross foolishness, but the power of God to us being saved.